Have you ever had this thought? I don't want to live in survival mode forever. And then immediately you wondered, am I even allowed to want that? Is that even possible?
Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time.
If you've ever caught yourself or found yourself in this place, then today's podcast episode is for you. Because wanting more than just to be stuck in living in survival mode is not selfish. It could actually be a sign that your nervous system is finally ready to heal and to do something different. Let's talk about it. For many moms who are suffering from chronic symptoms, whether that is a diagnosed chronic illness or not, and you also have one or more neurodivergent kids in your home, you spend a lot of your time, and really sometimes it can come in seasons, but you often feel stuck in survival mode. You're learning about different therapies, you're managing schedules, you're helping your child to regulate, you're helping them to develop, to grow, to learn, to really give them all of the tools and resources that you can to help them to be as successful and happy as possible. And so you might be advocating at school, you might be educating your kids yourself, you might be supporting them, their emotions, working through all of these things. And a lot of your time, your energy, and your resources go towards helping your child or your children. And so for a long time, that sense of living in survival mode, it just makes sense. It happens naturally. Your brain is shifting into that problem-solving mode. You focus on what your child needs, how you can help them, what everyone needs in your house in order to get through the day. But, after living for years that way, I notice, and I've noticed this for myself, is sometimes we get used to it and we don't realize that we're stuck in that state of living in survival mode. But then every now and then this thought will hit you and it's like, oh my goodness, I really am living in survival mode and I want something different for myself. You might catch yourself thinking, I don't want this to be how the rest of my life is. And then immediately you might have this other thought of, is it okay for me to want something more than just getting through every single day? This is something that, I hear a lot from moms whenever I talk to them. It's something that I would love to dig into with one-on-one coaching because, we spend years putting almost all of our energy into supporting our kids. And then when we finally start to think about our own health, our own peace, our own joy, we often feel guilty for wanting that and for trying to, it's a struggle to figure out, how do I prioritize that without neglecting my kids, without, making my kids do without something? How can I hold both of these things at the same time? And, I want to be that voice in your ear that is telling you it's okay to want to get out of survival mode. It's okay to want to have these little bits of things for yourself. That desire is not selfish. It really can be that first sign that healing is possible for you, and it can be that first step towards healing for you. And the reality is, we have seasons where we really just are living in survival mode and there's not necessarily a way around it. It just is part of life for that season. But survival mode wasn't meant to be permanent. Your nervous system is designed to move between states. So you have stress, then you recover. Then maybe you have some kind of connection with other people. You rest. We have all of these various states. And it shouldn't be that we're just constantly on high alert in that survival mode. And the fact that you are recognizing that and you're wanting something more it's not a problem. It's actually a great and wonderful thing. But first, let's talk about why survival mode happens. Let's talk about why wanting out of it is actually healthy. It's not something to feel bad about. And then also what it is going to look like to start trusting that desire instead of feeling guilty for having it. Okay. First and foremost, survival mode really is that state when your nervous system is just chronically stressed, and it was never meant to be permanent. It's not supposed to be something that lasts indefinitely. Like we talk about closing the stress cycle. So we have a stressful event, but then we have the time to recover and close that stress loop. We give that signal, the safety signal, back to our body that everything is good. But with survival mode, a lot of times we're just going from, kind of like I talked about last week, we're going from one stressful event to the other without ever giving our body safety signals. So whenever life feels overwhelming for these really long stretches of time, your nervous system will adapt. It shifts into this mode of focusing on safety, problem solving, because your nervous system is trying to protect you. And so it's how, when we have these really, really difficult seasons, we look back and we think, oh my goodness, how did I handle it? Well, obviously, we also know that the Lord gives us grace. On top of that, He also designed our nervous systems to be able to adapt. So we go into that protective, that really survival instinct where we are focusing highly on safety, highly on problem solving, really that like that output of energy and resourcefulness and really just being able to get stuff done. But the problem is that our nervous system never gets a break whenever we just jump from one thing to the next. And so your body was not designed to just stay there. It really needs to go stress, recovery. Then we have that time where we can rest. So when that season is long, when we're never getting that time of recovery, when we're never getting that time of rest, when it's just from one therapy schedule to the next, when we're advocating, when we're handling sensory issues, when we are dealing with our own chronic symptoms, chronic illness, on top of that, your body can stay stuck in that stress state for years. And that is why often when we have chronic symptoms and also we are a caregiver, as a mom, we start to feel very exhausted. We get irritable. We feel on edge. We sometimes feel emotionally flat, where we just feel almost disconnected from life. We're just making it through the day, going through the motions. And it's because your nervous system has been working too hard for too long. And that's the thing to keep in mind. Survival mode is okay for a season, but it is not something that should be just the description of your life. Okay, so let's talk about the second thing, which is that wanting out of survival mode is not a problem. It's not something to feel bad about. It's actually a very good sign that you are moving in the right direction. So when you start thinking, okay, I want to feel better. I'm tired of not feeling like I can keep up with my kids. I'm tired of feeling like I can't think straight. I'm tired of having to push myself through the day, feeling like I'm just basically forcing myself to make it to the end of the day, but then I can't sleep at night. But I have that 3 p.m. afternoon energy crash and I'm just tired of it. I want to feel better. I want to be more peaceful. I want to be calmer. I want to be more joyful. I want to feel lighter about myself, about life, everything. And then what you notice is when you have those desires, it could be two things. It could be either despair because you think, oh my goodness, with the way my life is, that's never going to happen. Or it could be guilt. And it could be guilt because, well, if I do all of those things, does that mean I'm going to be ignoring my kids or not doing this or not doing that? And so sometimes we have that feeling of, oh my goodness, okay, I feel guilty. So then we push it off. We don't want to do anything with it. And the reality is your brain only starts looking for things like safety, rest, connection, joy, when it is beginning to believe that those things could actually be possible for you again. That desire is part of that healing process. So if your nervous system is kind of looking around and saying, oh my goodness, hey, I just realized we've been living in this survival mode state for years, and I really think I want something more for myself. That's your brain is recognizing that. That is not something to feel bad about. It's not something to feel guilty or ashamed or even feeling in despair, because sometimes it's not that we feel guilty. It's not necessarily even coming from a place of healing. It's like, I am so tired of this being my every single day in, day out life. And I'm so tired of it. But at the same time, there's this sense of hopelessness because how could it ever get better? And this is what I want to say. This week, every time you catch yourself wondering, am I allowed to want more? Am I allowed to wish that life could be a little calmer, that I could have a little bit more joy in every single day? Am I allowed to want to feel better, to want to feel like I can handle stressful events without completely losing it because my nervous system is so wrung out and fried? When you catch yourself wondering that and wondering, is it possible and is it okay for me to want to be out of survival mode? Then the answer is yes. This desire, this goal is really part of me healing and beginning to feel better, to move the needle on becoming who I want to be, feeling how I want to feel in my body. And again, this is what we're going to focus on. We're not going to be making a list of habits that I want you to start trying to implement to get out of survival mode. It's not a new routine for you to start. It's just answering this question instead of letting the guilt or the despair have the last word. Instead of you thinking, okay, well, I feel bad for wanting that, or I feel like it's not possible. Remind yourself, yes, it is possible. How I get there might look different. It might take little bitty steps at a time, but this desire and this goal I have is actually part of me healing my nervous system. And so some weeks, the work is not necessarily that we're going to be doing more to get out of survival mode. Sometimes, like I mentioned in the last episode, it's actually stopping things. It's not adding more to the list, it's stopping things. And on top of that, it is also part of that really retraining our brains and our thought patterns to allow ourselves to believe that life is not supposed to look like chaos every single day. And it is okay. It is possible for me to start making changes to work towards that goal. And the reality is until we believe that is actually true, that is actually possible, and that there's nothing wrong with us having that desire, we will not begin to make the changes to make that happen. And so if we can start first and foremost with, what do we believe about living in survival mode? Am I just resigned to the fact that this is going to be the rest of my life? Am I feeling like if I want anything for myself that I'm doing something wrong? If so, you're going to constantly self-sabotage to make sure that those things never happen. So we have to start first and foremost with, what do I believe to be true? Do I believe that I need to be stuck living in just a state of chronic stress where I'm reacting to everything instead of being able to slow down and respond the way that I truly want to? Because the reality is when we can get out of survival mode, it impacts not just ourselves, but also our family. It impacts our homes. It impacts our relationships with others, because we can show up in a much more intentional way than what we are currently doing now by responding and reacting to everything because we are stuck in survival mode. So this is what we're going to focus on first and foremost, is just that belief that yes, it is okay to want to get out of survival mode. And not only is it okay, it is also possible. Start with that belief first. And then the reality is it's going to take you some time to truly, for your brain, to rewire your brain to begin to believe this is actually true and possible. But what you'll notice is as you actually change your thoughts around this belief that you've had previously that you didn't even realize, is you will start to begin to see opportunities in your day, in your everyday life, in your habits, in all these areas that you can make these small little tweaks in order to begin to get out of survival mode. But it all starts with your belief about whether or not it's okay and whether or not it is possible. Okay, friends, that is all for this episode. I would love to hear from you guys if this episode really resonated with you. And if you are struggling with feeling like this hopelessness of being in survival mode, of feeling like you are stuck in such a state of chronic stress that you don't know how to get out and you want some additional support, then I want you guys to head over to our free Facebook community. I will have that linked down in the show notes below for you guys, and just share with us. I would love to support you guys there. Of course, I do always have my Feel Better coaching calls, which are my one-on-one coaching calls, and we can sit down and talk about this as well. If you want that private conversation, you can learn more at ashleybraden.com/coaching. That is all for this episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back next time.
Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.